What if the only way to survive in Hollywood was to disappear and come back as someone else? For most stars, reinvention is a myth, something talked about in interviews but rarely achieved. They play variations of the same role, wear different costumes, but remain exactly who the industry expects them to be. And when the spotlight shifts, they fade with it. But a rare few do something far more dangerous. They burn down the image that made them famous again and again. They become unrecognizable, not through surgery or scandal, but through transformation, so total it unsettles both the public and the system that built them. These are the actors who refuse to be defined by a single decade, a single genre, or a single self. In their careers, you'll find no linear arc, only fragments, personas, contradictions. One decade, they're a femme fatale. The next, a war-torn mother. Today, they're a rock star. Tomorrow, a priest. Next year, something not quite human. Some embrace the madness of their craft. Others used reinvention to escape demons far more real than any character they played. This isn't about versatility. It's about survival through metamorphosis. And in a town that feeds on predictability, their unpredictability became their greatest weapon. These are not just stars, they are shapeshifters, chameleons, ghosts wearing new skin. Here are 20 Hollywood icons who didn't just change roles, they became someone else entirely. David Bowie, the man who fell into every role. David Bowie didn't just play with identity, he obliterated the idea that he ever had just one. To call him a rock star turned actor would be lazy. Bowie wasn't transitioning between worlds. He was building a universe where personas collided, melted, and re-emerged without warning. His film debut in The Man Who Fell to Earth 1976 wasn't just a role, it was prophecy. An alien trying to pass as human, that wasn't acting, that was autobiography. Off-screen, he cycled through incarnations. Ziggy Stardust, Aladdin Sane, The Thin White Duke. Each version was as fully realized as any character on film, complete with voice, posture, and philosophy. To cast Bowie in anything was to accept that you weren't hiring a man, but an apparition shaped by cosmic forces. In Labyrinth 1986, he was a glam rock goblin king with a knowing smirk. In The Hunger 1983, a seductive immortal unraveling into dust. And in The Prestige 2006, he appeared as Nikola Tesla fitting, since Bowie himself was a human experiment in energy, myth, and invention. The question with Bowie was never, who is he playing? It was, who is he now? Did Bowie use roles to express hidden truths or to hide in plain sight? 2. Cher, the pop goddess who became a cinematic force. Cher could have coasted on the strength of her voice and image for a lifetime. Instead, she walked off the stage and straight into the fire of serious cinema, daring Hollywood to scoff and daring herself to rise. In the 60 seconds, she was half of Sonny and Cher, a pop duo soaked in irony and spectacle. By the 70 seconds, she was a fashion icon, a TV staple, and a walking contradiction. Glamorous but grounded, adored yet underestimated. She had every reason to stay in her glittering lane, but Cher did the unthinkable. She asked to be taken seriously. In Silkwood 1983, she stripped away all polish to play a lesbian factory worker. In Mask 1985, she played a mother fighting for her disfigured son. Then came Moonstruck 1987, where her performance won her the Academy Award and obliterated any remaining doubt. This wasn't reinvention by committee, it was reinvention by defiance. The woman who once strutted in feathered headdresses now anchored gritty dramas with gravitas. Even today, she moves between pop royalty and cultural matriarch with unnerving ease. Was Cher always that actress, hidden behind the sequins? Or did she simply will herself into a new life, one bold enough for two legends? 3. Tilda Swinton, the genderless alchemist of film. Tilda Swinton doesn't perform characters, she shapeshifts into states of being. She's not playing a man or a woman, a hero or villain, an angel or alien. She's bending time, collapsing binaries, and asking, why choose one form when you can embody all of them? Her screen presence is spectral. In Orlando 1992, she begins as a nobleman and morphs seamlessly into a woman centuries later, without ever losing coherence. In Constantine 2005, she's the Archangel Gabriel, terrifying, luminous, neither masculine nor feminine. And in Suspiria 2018, she played not one but 3 roles, including an elderly man under pounds of prosthetics. The audience didn't know it was her, That was the point. Tilda isn't concerned with being recognizable. She's concerned with erasure, removing the boundary between self and role. Her collaborations with experimental directors like Derek Jarman and Luca Guadagnino only deepen the sense that she's not acting, she's channeling something else. You don't watch a Tilda Swinton film and ask, was she good? You ask, what exactly did I just witness? Is Swinton redefining what it means to act or exposing that acting itself is an illusion? 4. Johnny Depp, the man of 1,000 ghosts. Johnny Depp never wanted to be a movie star. That's what makes his stardom so strange and so volatile. He didn't climb the ladder of leading men. He carved a tunnel through genre, identity, and expectation, emerging each time as someone new and deeply unknowable. From the dreamy outsider in Edward Scissorhands, 1990, to the drunken pirate in Pirates of the Caribbean, 2003, Depp didn't just transform, he warped the very idea of transformation. He sought out characters that repelled simplicity. Crossdressers, madmen, broken poets, drugged, out narrators. He never chased likability, he chased masks. And under those masks, more masks. His work with director Tim Burton became an ongoing experiment in reinvention. But the deeper Depp dove into roles, the blurrier the line between fiction and persona became. Jack Sparrow bled into red carpets. Willy Wonka haunted interviews. Even his off-screen life became theatrical, a shadow play of scandals, trials, and contradictions. Did Johnny Depp become too good at reinvention? Or did he lose himself in the very roles that made him unforgettable? 5. Angelina Jolie. From femme fatale to global conscience, Angelina Jolie entered Hollywood like a hurricane, lethal, beautiful, uncontainable. Early roles fed the fantasy. The wild daughter in Girl, Interrupted, 1999. The gun-toting adventurer in Tomb Raider, 2001. The seductive assassin in Mr. and Mrs. Smith, 2005. She was the femme fatale, redefined, dangerous but magnetic. But then, something shifted. The tattoos stayed, but the narrative changed. Jolie stepped behind the camera, directing war dramas and humanitarian stories. She adopted children from around the world, visited refugee camps, and spoke at the United Nations. The tabloid temptress became a symbol of empathy and transformation. Was this evolution strategic? Maybe. But watch First They Killed My Father, 2017, and you'll see something deeper. Grief, compassion, rage, all real, all earned. Jolie didn't just change her image, she reconstructed her purpose. She stopped playing the woman the industry wanted and became the woman the world needed. Was it a reinvention or a reclamation? 6. Nicole Kidman, the reinvention hidden in plain sight. Nicole Kidman's transformation wasn't explosive, it was surgical, quiet, precise. A slow burn of choices that, over decades, turned a former Hollywood ingenue into a shapeshifter cloaked in elegance. In the 90 seconds, she was often cast as the beautiful accessory, gilded, graceful, but contained. But look closer. In To Die For, 1995, she played a fame-obsessed monster in pastel suits. In Eyes Wide Shut, 1999, she cracked open the fragile fantasy of marriage with just a glance. And then came The Others, 2001, Dogville, 2003, Birth, 2004. Films that slowly peeled back the perfection. By the 2010 seconds, Kidman had become the queen of television with Big Little Lies, returned to art house indies like The Killing of a Sacred Deer, and embodied raw vulnerability in Destroyer, 2018, where she was almost unrecognizable. She didn't abandon glamour, she weaponized it. Was Nicole Kidman always this daring, or did Hollywood just take too long to notice? 7. Cate Blanchett, the woman who refused to be singular. Cate Blanchett is the paradox. Hollywood wasn't prepared for an actress, so commanding in every role that she disappears into none. She doesn't play characters, she conjures them. She's been royalty, Elizabeth, The Lord of the Rings, a jazz-era siren, The Good German, Bob Dylan, I'm Not There, an elven queen, a villainous stepmother, and a corrupt orchestra conductor, Tar. Every incarnation is so radically distinct that they seem to belong to different lifetimes, and yet all bear her unmistakable gravity. Blanchett's range isn't about versatility, it's about multiplicity. She inhabits contradictions, cold and tender, alien and familiar, monstrous and maternal. When she speaks, it's with a rhythm that doesn't seem learned, but forged. Even off-screen, she resists being boxed in. She champions the theater as fiercely as she does cinema. Her interviews oscillate between deadpan humor and philosophical depth. There's no real Blanchett behind the curtain, just endless performance, and perhaps peace within the act of never settling. Is she a master of control? Or someone surrendering completely to every role she meets? 8. Joaquin Phoenix, the phoenix that burns every time. Joaquin Phoenix doesn't reinvent, he self-destructs and rebuilds. Each role is not a chapter, it's a detonation. From Gladiator's fragile tyrant to Walk the Line's tortured genius, from Her's lonely soul to Joker's violent spiral, Phoenix isn't performing transformation, he's bleeding it. He gains weight, loses it, disappears for years, stuns with return after return, never in the same form. In I'm Still Here, 2010, he faked a breakdown, a career collapse, a rap persona, and turned it into a meta-commentary on fame itself. No one was in on the joke. That was the point. He wanted you to question everything. Then came Joker, and with it, an Oscar, controversy, obsession. But rather than embrace the myth, Phoenix recoiled. He doesn't want to be understood. He wants the work to be the fire he disappears into. Is Joaquin Phoenix reinventing, or constantly escaping a version of himself that never felt real? 9. Tom Cruise, the action star who reprogrammed the system. Tom Cruise began as the golden boy, smiling, safe, bankable. Top Gun wasn't just a movie, it was a brand. But that version of Cruise is long dead. He buried it in stunts, obsession, and control. Today, Cruise is cinema's last great daredevil, performing his own death-defying sequences in Mission Impossible films, flying real jets, clinging to planes mid-air. He doesn't act danger, he becomes it. It's no longer about character, it's about proving he's still faster, stronger, more committed than anyone else in Hollywood. But underneath the spectacle is a man who refuses to be forgotten. He's outlived scandals, mocked belief systems, and reinvented himself as an indestructible brand, not of personality, but of physical presence. This isn't just reinvention, it's reprogramming. He's turned himself into a machine powered by legacy and fearlessness. Is Tom Cruise preserving stardom, or replacing it with something even more extreme? 10. Glenn Close, the shapeshifter you never quite trust. Glenn Close doesn't need prosthetics or makeup to disappear. She vanishes behind precision. In every role, she projects a presence so tightly controlled, so calibrated, that it becomes unnerving. You don't watch her characters. You observe them like specimens behind glass, waiting for the moment they fracture. Her breakout in Fatal Attraction, 1987, turned obsession into operatic dread. But she followed it with Dangerous Liaisons, 1988, channeling aristocratic cruelty, then 101 Dalmatians, 1996, where she became a cartoon villain too vivid to mock. And yet, in films like Albert Nobbs, 2011, she dissolved into quiet desperation, playing a woman living as a man in 19th century Ireland. Close reinvents not by changing forms, but by shifting energy from rage to restraint, from chaos to calculation. Her performances don't beg for sympathy, they challenge you to earn it. And even after 8 Oscar nominations, she remains one of Hollywood's most respected enigmas. Why hasn't she won an Academy Award? Perhaps because she's never given Hollywood the version of herself it could reward. 11. Robert Downey Jr., the resurrection that rewired the system. Robert Downey Jr. didn't just reinvent himself, he rewrote his mythology. The prodigious son of an underground filmmaker, Downey dazzled early with Chaplin, 1992, only to spiral into addiction, arrests, and exile. Hollywood let him fall. Few expected a comeback. Then came Iron Man, 2008, and everything changed. But this wasn't a comeback, it was a reboot. Downey didn't just return, he anchored an entire cinematic universe. His Tony Stark wasn't a mask, it was a mirror. Brilliant, reckless, wounded, charismatic, self-aware. Audiences saw the man, the myth, and the mess, and embraced all of it. Since then, he's played Sherlock Holmes, Dr. Dolittle, and even stepped back into dramatic terrain with Oppenheimer, 2023. But nothing compares to the transformation from liability to legend. Did Hollywood forgive him? Or did he force it to change by becoming too valuable to ignore? 12. Reese Witherspoon, the strategist beneath the sparkle. Reese Witherspoon's early fame rested on charm, fast-talking, sun-drenched, irresistibly perky. Legally Blonde, 2001, made her iconic, but that image of the blonde with unexpected brains was only the first act. By the mid-2010 seconds, Witherspoon had grown disillusioned with the roles offered to women like her, so she built something new. She founded a production company. She bought the rights to Gone Girl and Big Little Lies. She turned her sparkle into strategy and produced narratives where women weren't supporting players, but storms at the center. As an actress, she moved into darker, messier roles: trauma, rage, ambiguity. As a producer, she amplified voices Hollywood long ignored. Witherspoon didn't just shift genres, she shifted power. Was she always this calculated? Or did years of being underestimated teach her how to outmaneuver the system? 13. Benicio del Toro, the phantom inside every frame. Benicio del Toro doesn't chase attention. He dismantles it. He enters a scene like smoke, indistinct at first, then suffocating in its presence. His gift isn't transformation in the traditional sense. It's opacity. With Del Toro, the reinvention happens in silence. Early on, he was the mumbling, unreadable criminal in The Usual Suspects, 1995. Then the soulful, haunted cop in Traffic, 2000, a role that won him an Oscar. By the time he portrayed Che Guevara across two sprawling biopics, Che, 2008, Del Toro had blurred the line between historical figure and performance. He's been a lawyer, a hitman, a collector of secrets, a man without center. In Sicario, 2015, he played a vengeful force, so cold and internalized, it felt more like nature than character. He never screams for reinvention. He whispers it until you realize the man you're watching might not be there at all. Does Benicio del Toro transform, or does he simply erase everything else until only the role remains? 14. Christian Bale, the body that betrays itself. Christian Bale doesn't morph, he mutilates. His reinvention is physical, a brutal, almost monastic commitment to self-destruction in pursuit of character. He doesn't just act, he vanishes inside extremes. He dropped over 60 pounds for The Machinist, 2004, then bulked up into a muscular Batman months later. He became unrecognizably bloated in American Hustle, 2013, and skeletal again in Vice, 2018, as Dick Cheney. Each role demands not just performance, but a re-engineering of flesh and bone. Bale rarely repeats types. He oscillates wildly. Billionaire vigilante, drug addict, boxer, conman, biblical hero. His voice, posture, even eye contact changes with each role. Yet behind the dedication lies an unsettling question. How many times can one man break himself and come back? Is Christian Bale acting? Or is he methodically destroying one version of himself to escape another? 15. Viola Davis, the transformation that redefined strength. Viola Davis didn't sneak into reinvention. She kicked the door down and built a new room entirely. For years, she was cast in marginal roles, maids, mothers, background voices. Then came Doubt, 2008, and with just one scene, she stole a film from Meryl Streep. But she didn't stop there. In The Help, 2011, she gave dignity to roles others dismissed. In Fences, 2016, she exploded with emotional fury. And in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, 2020, she became defiant, grotesque, unapologetically powerful. Davis's reinvention wasn't just personal, it was systemic. She demanded roles that didn't exist, then made them essential. She turned vulnerability into violence, silence into command. She didn't bend to the industry, she bent the industry toward her. Was Viola Davis reinventing herself, or was she forcing Hollywood to finally confront what power in a black woman really looks like? 16. Jeff Bridges, the cowboy who became a state of mind. Jeff Bridges began as Hollywood royalty, son of Lloyd Bridges, boyish, handsome, perfectly castable. He could have played it safe, but Bridges chose reinvention not through flash, but through stillness. His early work in films like The Last Picture Show, 1971, and Starman, 1984, revealed a quiet depth. But it was The Big Lebowski, 1998, that marked his metamorphosis not into a new type, but into an archetype. The dude wasn't a performance, it became a philosophy, a meme, a way of seeing the world. And yet, Bridges refused to become a parody of himself. He slid into gravitas with Crazy Heart, 2009, a role that earned him an Oscar, then moved through noir, westerns, and existential drama, with the confidence of a man unbothered by legacy. His reinvention is deceptively gentle. He doesn't transform through makeup or mass. He reinvents by letting go of ego, of artifice, of control. Jeff Bridges doesn't play roles. He drifts into them like rivers, reshaping them with time. Is Jeff Bridges a master of craft? Or just someone who finally stopped pretending? 17. Kate Winslet, the escape artist of prestige cinema. Kate Winslet could have remained Rose from Titanic, forever enshrined in cinematic royalty, forever trapped in romantic nostalgia. Instead, she fled that iceberg of expectation and built a career defined by discomfort. Post-Titanic, she sought characters with cracks. Little Children, 2006. The Reader, 2008. Revolutionary Road, 2008. She played women unraveling from within, mothers, addicts, survivors, liars. Her choices were surgical. She avoided vanity. She rejected predictability. And she embraced moral ambiguity. Even in Mare of Easttown, 2021, she obliterated the Hollywood template. No glamour, no perfection, just sweat, grief, and rage. Winslet's reinvention lies not in range, but in resistance to easy beauty, to adoration, to being defined by a single image. Did she reinvent herself? Or did she escape the prison of being adored too soon? 18. Gary Oldman, the disappearance artist. There are actors you recognize. Then there's Gary Oldman, someone you've seen 100 times but can't describe. That's not coincidence. That's strategy. Oldman has played punks, princes, spies, addicts, prime ministers, vampires, and wizards. He's been unhinged, Leon, the professional, dignified, Darkest Hour, slippery, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, and grotesque, Bram Stoker's Dracula. But beneath every role is a startling absence of ego, of self, of traceability. He reinvents not by adding layers, but by removing himself entirely. The voice changes, the walk changes, even the way he breathes adapts. When he portrayed Winston Churchill, no one recognized him, not because of prosthetics, but because Oldman is a human vantage point. Is Gary Oldman the greatest actor of his generation, or the greatest ghost it ever produced? 19. Naomi Watts, the actress who thrived on disorientation. Naomi Watts never chose the safe path. She built a career by stepping into roles that destabilize the viewer, and often the character herself. Her reinvention isn't loud, it's intimate and deeply unsettling. Her breakout in Mulholland Drive, 2001, was a descent into identity fracture, playing a woman who might be an actress, a victim, or a ghost of her own ambition. Then came 21 Grams, Funny Games, The Impossible, each one a portrait of psychological erosion. Watts never settled into a type. She oscillated between indie dread and studio drama, from haunted mothers to erotic thrillers to grotesque comedy. She thrives in the gray zone, where the audience loses orientation, where empathy curdles into doubt. Some actors reinvent to escape monotony. Watts reinvents to deepen ambiguity. You never know if her character is who she appears to be, or someone pretending, suffering, unraveling behind the mask. Is Naomi Watts embracing chaos, or is she quietly directing it? 20. Michelle Yeoh, the warrior who became everything. Michelle Yeoh began with fists, flips, and fire, an icon of Hong Kong action cinema, where she did her own stunts and took real hits. For years, Hollywood cast her as the exotic fighter, poised, powerful, contained. Then she broke the mold. In Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, 2000, Yeoh brought gravity to martial arts. In Crazy Rich Asians, 2018, she played elegance laced with emotional armor. But it was Everything Everywhere All at Once, 2022, that detonated everything. As Evelyn Wang, she embodied heartbreak, absurdity, comedy, sci-fi spectacle, immigrant trauma, and cosmic philosophy all at once. Yeoh didn't just reinvent herself. She expanded what an action star, a mother, an Asian actress, and a human being could contain within a single performance. Was Michelle Yeoh always this boundless? Or did it take Hollywood decades to give her a multiverse large enough? Bonus fact: Robin Wright, the reinvention hidden in silence. For years, Robin Wright was best known as Jenny from Forrest Gump, a symbol of heartbreak and fragility. Then she vanished, and when she returned, it wasn't with noise, it was with control. In House of Cards, 2013-2018, she became Claire Underwood, cold, regal, surgical. Wright didn't just step into power, she exhaled it. Her reinvention wasn't flamboyant, it was precise. From indie roles to directing, she rebuilt her career away from pity and toward dominance. What changed? Perhaps nothing. Perhaps Jenny was never the whole story, just the beginning of a woman who knew when to disappear and when to take the throne. Hollywood thrives on predictability. Audiences crave consistency. But these 20 stars made a different bargain. They didn't just survive by changing. They endured by becoming unrecognizable again and again. They shattered molds, blurred genders, defied studios, and redefined genres. Some did it through silence, others through spectacle. But all of them left behind something untraceable. The idea that identity, in cinema, is ever fixed. Maybe reinvention isn't about ambition. Maybe it's about shedding skins before they suffocate. So now, the question is yours. Which of these transformations stunned you most? And is there a star you believe should have made the list, someone who disappeared, returned, and forced us to look again? Let us know. The curtain's drawn, but the performance never really ends.